So today I'm joined by Sam. Hi Sam, how are you?
Roz, we made it happen.
We did make it happen.
Somehow, the wonders of modern technology, and you seem to have a grasp of technology a fraction more than I do. So I'm impressed.
So we're here, apart from the technology side, we're here to chat about your whisky, which is going to launch next month in the UK. So Outlander fans will know this, but can you just tell me a bit about the name and how it links back to the show?
Yeah, well, the name is called the Sassenach, and I guess the name, became synonymous with my character Jamie Fraser in Outlander because it's his the name that he uses for his wife, and it's a term of endearment, really. And I know in Scotland, previously, it has been slightly derogatory, used for English people or outsiders. But actually, I think through the show, people have kind of realized that actually, yeah, the way he uses it is that it's a term of endearment, and that's what we wanted to do with the whiskey. We wanted to be for the outsider, for people that don't know about whiskey or that want access to whiskey and want somewhere to start. And it just kind of fits really well with the brand.
And you said in a previous interview, when you were setting up the Great Glen Company, that the first stop is obviously the lifelong dream of having your own dram. Was this dream that prompted you to set up the company, and how does it feel now to have realised that dream?
Yeah, I mean, so whiskey is synonymous with Scotland, and I grew up, not really understanding it or even particularly liking the stuff that I tried. And then I was away. I was living in London and in Los Angeles quite a lot. And I remember going into a bar and sitting with one of my good friends, and it was sort of around Christmas time, and it was kind of the first time I really ordered a whiskey. And I think it was a Speyside, and we sat and we drank the Speyside, and it was sort of cold outside, and it just took me back to Scotland. It made me, it had so many emotions wrapped up in this whiskey. I think because I was quite homesick and missing Scotland and missing home. And I realized at that point that, that whiskey is different to other alcohols. It has a lot of memories. It has a lot of senses tied up in it. And it's an emotional experience when you have a whiskey. I'm not saying you're crying as you're drinking it. That would be quite sad, but certainly it takes me back home. And so, yeah, the idea of our whiskey is it's called the Spirit of Home. And no matter where you are in the world, hopefully, you can have a dram of that, and it'll transport you back to the Highlands and back to Scotland.
And it sort of sounds like you had some good ideas for what you wanted from it. So did you go into the process knowing exactly what you wanted, or was it sort of like a try and see when you were creating the whiskey?
Yeah, well, so I think I was approached by a lot of different companies, a lot of different distilleries to basically to sort of put my name to white label something. And at that point, I realized that, I didn't want to just, stick my name on a label and there, that's it. I really wanted to be part of the process. And I was looking at the whiskeys that I was enjoying, and actually really enjoying a lot of Asian whiskeys, the blends. They felt intriguing, and also because they were a blend, I thought that was kind of interesting. That single malts obviously are kind of held in high esteem, but there's a market out there for the blend, and for a blend that is premium, that is kind of an expression of what I like and what I like about Scotland. And so, yeah, we went down that route to try and create a blend that really expressed something that I enjoy. We tried a lot of whiskey. We went to a lot of different distilleries and met a lot of people, and great innovators, great people that throw all of their passion and dedication into making great spirits. But this is the blend that we came up with.
Which is, I was going to ask you why a blend over a single malt, but I guess that kind of answers, because they're becoming more popular now, aren't they? Especially in cocktails and things.
Yeah, I think blends traditionally in the past have been kind of looked down on. They're sort of seen as being cheaper, but actually, they can be so unique, and that's what we're trying to do with ours. Is making a unique blend. It's like you won't taste this anywhere else, and we've got some really old stuff in there. It's aged. It it really is, in a way, kind of more interesting. It's like almost making a cocktail. You're blending all these different amazing whiskeys to make something even more special that, you know, after a while, I don't know, I with single malts, I get not bored, but I get like, I'm looking for something else. And I think that the Asian blends really, for me, were where I was leaning towards, because, well, they seem to be smoother, they're more balanced, but also, yeah, I was kind of excited about them. So I don't know, that's where I'm in my journey at the moment of like drinking whiskey. And we're talking about this in the morning, you know, at 11 in the morning, but yeah, I mean, who knows? I'll definitely probably bounce back towards single malts in the future. But actually, a large part of our whiskey is also, it's a single grain, and it's a 19-year-old organic grain. And I think also that's something that people look down on, maybe a little bit. But actually, I love single grain whiskey, and you can get some amazing aged stuff that is probably half the price of a single malt and is just, you know, rich, delicious, and full of character. And yeah, so I think, you know, it's something that we can celebrate as well.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those underrated ones just now. I think that's going to probably grow quite a lot over the next wee while, single grain.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what we're looking at, you know, obviously. So the brand Sassenach, we have this blend that's great and it's doing really well, and we're obviously looking forward to a UK release. But in the future, I think we're going to start looking at other innovative spirits, whether it's whiskey or something else. But yeah, I think a single grain is definitely a route we want to look at as well, because they're so good. It's probably the majority of what I'm drinking right now.
And one of our previous guests was Master Blender Rachel Barry, who got a photo with the Keepers of the Quake event.
Yeah.
She's great. Was it that, so you've said, you know, you had that jam when you were having a drink with a friend and it kind of reminded you of home. Was that the moment where you kind of felt like you've got a love for the Scotch whiskey industry and the community, or was it kind of further back than that, or further on from that?
I mean, I've always been, well, coming back to Scotland to shoot Outlander, I think I kind of fell in love with the country and my heritage. You know, you kind of take it for granted a little bit when you're here, and then going away and living in London for 12 years and being abroad, I sort of came back and really fell in love, not only with the landscape, you know, I was out hiking and climbing and sort of cycling around Scotland, but also, yeah, the people and the culture. And we have such great heritage here. You know, we're a little country, but we're very proud of it. But we have amazing products from, you know, not just whiskey, but, you know, to like textiles, you know, to tartan, to tweed, to food as well. You know, we have all these things that we can really celebrate, and I don't know if we do celebrate it enough. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I've definitely fallen in love with Scotland again, and everything that we can produce.
Yeah. And so Sassenach has already won gold awards, despite the fact it was quite a limited release at first, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say, how did that feel for such a new launch?
Yeah. So we started it. You know, we've only been out about a year now, and we did only release in America in 5 states, and it was a limited release, primarily just because we were working on the blend, and it's such a unique blend. We only had a small amount of product and access to that, but we've obviously managed we're working on it now to get larger quantities, which is fantastic. But it was a long process. And actually, when we first started, we were thinking about doing actually an American whiskey, just because of all the different laws and, you know, importing and exporting from Scotland into America. In America, each state has a different law, and it really is very, very complex. So at the time we were thinking about it, but then we kind of went down that line, and then I realized sort of after sort of a while that, you know, I think, to be honest, you know, why am I doing an American whiskey when we have such great access to Scottish whiskies, and we've met so many great people in Scotland, great producers. So yeah, we sort of went back to the drawing board and started again. And it really was a process of sort of a long process, you know, sort of trying different blends, trying different strengths. Our Sassenach is 46% because we wanted something that sort of is slightly heavier on the tongue and has a bit more of a premium feel to it. And yeah, there's just so many factors, even from, you know, the design of the logo to the bottle. You know, we really sat down and sort of was part of every part of that process.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks like one of those ones that, you know how Harris Gin has become iconic in its bottle because the way it looks like it's going to go down that route as well. You'll definitely be able to see it on a back bar.
Yeah, that was the idea. We looked at Harris Gin. Obviously, you know, I think everyone, especially in Scotland now, has an empty bottle of Harris Gin on their shelf with some fairy lights in it or a candle, you know. And I think we wanted to do the same. You know, we like, let's make something that you know we're proud of, that it looks good, you know. And then also if you look at the Japanese blends, you look at Hibiki, you know, they've got some beautiful bottles. We wanted to do something with the stopper as well, but you know, all of these things it adds. But that is our unique bottle that we made. We had to go and obviously make the mold and then pass it through all these different tests, which who knew there were all these different tests you have to do. You know, there's sort of heat tests, there's travel tests. You have to basically fill up your bottle and leave it for however long. You have to test it at different temperatures. You have to check the seal, the cork. We wanted to use real cork because obviously a lot of people use these synthetic ones, but we wanted to use a real one. And it's when you start to really dig into it, there's so much to learn. And we really didn't know anything when we first started, apart from the fact that we like whiskey. So it really has been a sort of journey of discovery as well.
And so when are we going to be able to buy it in the UK and whereabouts?
Well, yes. So
the
question, you know, end of November is what I'm saying. And actually, if you look at the end of November, the 30th of November is St. Andrew's Day. So that might be a nice day to launch. So yeah, we're just gearing up to that launch. And then in the UK, we have one of the biggest online retailers of spirits and whiskies who's gonna have that product. And then we're also looking at a lot of individual retailers and a couple of restaurants and bars, hopefully, which will be open by then, obviously with lockdown. But we're really excited to launch it, and I'm sort of keeping it slightly under wraps at the moment until we have our full launch. But at the same time in the US as well, we will be launching, having another release. And as I said, in the US, it is complicated, but we should be able to reach about 20 states. Some states you can ship to other states and all this sort of thing. So if you're interested, our website will have all the information and it'll tell you whether we can send you a bottle of the fine liquid.
And there'll probably be a news story on the Scotsman Food and Drink site as well when we get there.
Let's hope so. You guys, I better send you one. You'll be the first people I send it to.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah. This is quite random, but I used to work with Richard Rankin behind the bar at O'Bonnell Bears in Glasgow. So I was just wondering, has he ever made any drinks on set? And if he hasn't, are you going to make him do that now?
Do you know what? I don't think he has. How is he as a barman?
He was, I mean, I'm talking like 2004, 2005. It was a while ago. He was good though. He was a good laugh. Although we were there at 3 in the morning sometimes because it was a hotel bar as well.
Oh, yeah, I know it well. I spent a lot of time in London as a jobbing actor, you know, working in bars and restaurants, and I worked for a cocktail company. So, and it was mostly populated by actors, which is quite interesting. But yeah, you know, I think we did have a little cocktail night recently, a sort of socially distant cocktail evening out in the garden when it was a little bit warmer, and it was actually with Hennessy, who did an event, and we all made cocktails. And yeah, I think he's got a heavy pour, is what I would say. He's got a very heavy hand. The cocktails were quite strong.
That's probably why we were there till 3 in the morning.
Yes, clearly.
So Scran is a Scottish Food and Drink podcast, so just got a few questions on Scottish Food and Drink, if that's all right, to see how your relationship with it is.
Okay.
So you were born in Dumfries in Galloway, which is famous for ice cream. So do you have a favourite ice cream?
Yes. I do. You want to know what it is?
Yeah.
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint
Mint chocolate chip. It's absolutely the king of ice creams. I mean, I'm partial to vanilla or chocolate, you know, just keep it plain, but mint chocolate chip, I think it's got the best of everything. I don't know if you remember what were they called? Were they Feast bars?
Yeah, with a
And
chocolate in the middle.
it had the thick chocolate chunk in the middle,
Yeah.
mint chocolate chip around the outside, and then a crispy chocolate around the top. So you could eat it by layers, or you could eat the whole thing. Tremendous. That's definitely the best ice cream.
And you travel quite a lot for work. So what Scottish food or drink do you stock up to take away with you?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I mean, obviously whiskey. I like to take abroad, but you know, it's interesting. I guess, I mean, you know, we have such great produce in Scotland, you know, from seafood, you know, like you look at, we have these incredible langoustine, we have salmon, we have oysters, we have, you know, all of the seafood, but actually we don't celebrate enough. It gets sent to other countries. I mean, something like 95% of all langoustines that are fished in Scotland go to Europe, which is a shame that we don't we don't use them more. But we recently had a sort of soft launch of our whiskey in Los Angeles at the BAFTA Burns night, where I had to toast a haggis, and we had the whiskey there as well. But the haggis had to be smuggled into America because haggis is illegal there. So I think it was McSween's haggis as well, which is tremendous. It's one of the best. So I would say that would be it. I would have to smuggle in some haggis. But actually, I was in Australia maybe 2 years ago doing some press, and I was on a breakfast morning television show, and somehow in Australia they'd got a haggis, and they presented it to me in the morning, cooked. It smelled so bad, like someone had really bad indigestion. It smelled so bad, and I didn't touch it. I was like, I'm not going to eat that. And I think some of the presenters did have a little taste, and it didn't look right at all. I don't know what happened to the haggis. I think it was probably sitting in their fridge for a few days and probably gone off. So I hope they weren't really ill.
Was it giving you the bulk?
It was giving me the bulk, but it wasn't only that. I actually thought that one of the presenters had sort of let off some air. I thought one of them had farted because it was smelling so bad. So then I'm sitting there pretending like I can't smell something, but it was awful.
Probably one of a fine acting moment there to be like, this is fine.
That's it.
So there's a section on the podcast called Desert Island Drinks, which says if you could only take 3 drams on a desert island, what would they be and why? And
that's so good. I can't choose mine.
Well, you can if you want, yeah.
Oh, I can. Okay. Well, 3 drams. Oh my God, that's really tough. So I guess, oh God. First one would have to be, as I've talked about, sort of the Asian whiskeys. I quite like the Kavalan. Is that Taiwanese but do you know what I've been trying recently is the Amrut, the Indian single malt, which I think is delicious and tremendous. So I would take the Amrut. Then probably I have to take something Scottish, obviously. I would take maybe a peated whiskey. And I recently tried the Glen Turret, one of the oldest distilleries in Scotland. If you want to try their peated whiskey, it is fantastic, really well balanced. I'd take that. And of course, finally, I'd have to take the Sassenach because it's my whiskey and it has so many memories tied up in it and is the best whiskey in the world.
Yeah. And finally, we just have a quick fire round. So it's 5 questions. If you just tell me the first thing that comes into your head, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever I'm hungry, I think of?
Porridge.
Comfort food for me is?
Curry, I think.
My favourite childhood dessert is?
Oh, pineapple upside down.
My food heaven is?
Sushi.
And my food hell is?
Oh, pork. Like pork knuckle. You know, pork, like, I don't know if you've ever been to, I was shooting in, over in Budapest, and they like to they like to serve you pork knuckle, which is just, it's, you know, with cabbage and potatoes and stuff. And it could be delicious, but it's not, because it's covered in this fat. And I was brought up a vegetarian until I was about mid-20s. So I only started eating meat later on. And yeah, it's just a little intimidating. I'm not sure I'm quite ready for a pork knuckle.
And do you have time for one last question?
Yes, I do.
Oh, now I've got to choose. What was it you played Hugh Tennant in the Tennant's advert? What was that like, and what is your favourite Scottish beer? Don't feel like you have to say Tennant's.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I loved that character. He's a madman, but with a great idea. And yeah, no, Tennant's. We did a series of adverts over a number of years, and we actually shot some of those adverts all over the world. We went to Prague and shot the first ones, and then we went to South Africa and shot there, which actually, insider tip, there's a great gin in South Africa called Inverroche, which they use the rooibos as one of the botanicals, and the rooibos is this tea that is caffeine free, I think, but it gives it this great sort of amber hue, like a sort of almost red, russet red color, but it is tremendous. Really good gin. Yeah, and yeah, they were fantastic to work with. Tennants. They sent me a lot of beer. So after a while, I have to admit, they sent me a pallet of beer. My flatmates at the time were really happy for about a couple of weeks, and then they were just bored of drinking cans of Tennants. But you could never get bored of drinking Tennants. My favorite beer would be, I can't pass by a Schiehallion. Is it Harveston? It's kind of, I love that mountain. I love Schiehallion. It's actually right where we shot the Outlander Standing Stones up near Kinlochranach. So for me, yeah, it's got sort of a lot of emotions tied up in it, but also it's just refreshing. Also the Black Isle Blonde, I love that one as well. Tremendous.